Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Indah Fadilah, and now I want to tell you a story, and the title is Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves. Please enjoy. There's once life in a town of Persia, two brothers, one named Qasim and the other Ali Baba. Their father divided a small inheritance equally between them. Qasim married a very rich wife and became a wealth merchant. Ali Baba married a woman as poor as himself and lived by cutting wood and bringing it upon three asses into the town to sell. One day, when Ali Baba was in the forest and had just cut wood enough to load his asses, he saw at a distance a great cloud of dust, which seemed to approach him. He observed it with attention and distinguished soon after a body of horsemen, whom he suspected might be robbers. He determined to leave his asses to save himself. He climbed up a large tree, planted on a high rock, whose branches were thick enough to conceal him, and yet enable him to see all that passed without being discovered. The troop, who were to the number of 40, all well mounted and armed, came to the foot of the rock on which the tree stood. And three dismounted, every man unbridled his horse, tied him to some sharp, and hung about his neck a bag of corn which they had brought behind them. Then each of them took off his saddlebag, which seemed to Ali Baba from its weight to be full of gold and silver. One, whom he took to be their captain, came under the tree in which Ali Baba was concealed, and making his way through some shrub, pronounced these words, "Open sesame." As soon as the captain of the robber had thus spoken, a door opened in the rock, and after he had made all his troop enter before him, he followed them when the door shut again itself. The robber stayed some time within the rock, during which Ali Baba, fearful of being caught, remained in the tree. At least the door opened again, and the captain went in last, so he came out first, and stood to see them all pass by him. When Ali Baba heard him make the door close by pronouncing these words, "Shut sesame," every man at once went and bridled his horse, fastened his sword, and mounted again. When the captain saw them already, he put himself at their head, and they returned the way they had come. When Ali Baba got home, he drove his asset into a little yard, shut the gate very carefully thereof the wood that covered the panels, carried the bags into his house, and ranged them in order before his wife. He then emptied the bags, which raised such a great heap of gold as desolate his wife's eyes, and then he told her the whole adventure from beginning to end, and above all recommended her to keep it secret. The wife rejoiced greatly at their good fortune, and would count all the good piece off by piece. "Why, you don't know what you undertake. When you pretend to count the money, you will never have done. I will dig a hole and bury it. There is not time to be lost." "You are in the right, husband," replied she, "but let us know as nigh as possible how much we have. I will borrow a small measure and measure it while you dig the hole." Away the wife ran to her brother-in-law Kasim, who lived just by, and addressing herself to his wife, desired that she lend her a measure for a little while. Her sister-in-law asked her whether she would have a great or a small. The other asked for a small one. She bade her stay a little, and she would readily fetch one. Kasim, after he had married the rich widow, had never treated Ali Baba as a brother but neglect him, and now, instead of being pleased, he conceived a base envy at his brother's prosperity. He could not sleep all that night and went to him in the morning before sunrise. "Ali Baba," said he, "I am surprised at you. You pretend to be miserable poor, and yet you measure gold. My wife found this at the bottom of the measure you borrowed yesterday." By this discourse, Ali Baba perceived that Kazim and his wife, through his own wife's folly, knew what they had so much reason to conceal. But what was done could not be undone. Therefore, without showing the less surprise or trouble, he confessed all, and offered his brother part of his treasure to keep the secret. Kasim rose that next morning long before the sun, and set out for the forest with 10 mules bearing great chests, which he designed to fill, and follow the road which Ali Baba had pointed out to him. He was not long before he reached the rock, and found out the place by the tree and other marks which his brother had given him. When he reached the entrance of the cavern, he pronounced the words, "Open, Kasim." The door immediately opened, and when he was in, closed up him in examining the cave. He was in great admiration to find much more rich than he had expected from Ali Baba relation. He quickly laid as many bags of gold as he could carry at the door of the cavern, but his stocks were so full of the great rich he should possess, that he could not think of the necessary word to make it open, but instead of Kasim, said, "Open barely," and was much amazed to find in the door remained fast shut. He named several sort of grain, but still the door would not open. The first care of the robber after this was to examine the cave. They found all the bags which Kasim had brought to the door, to be ready to load his mules, and carried them again to their place. But they did not miss what Ali Baba had taken away before. Then, holding a council and deliberating upon this occurrence, they guessed the Kasim, when he was in, could not get out again, but could not imagine how he had learned the secret word by which alone he could enter. They could not deny the fact of his being there, and to terrify any person or accomplice who should attempt the same thing, they agreed to cut Kasim's body into 4 quarters, to hang two on one side and two on the other, within the door of the cave. They had no sooner taken this resolution than they put in execution. And when they had nothing more to detain them, let, left, the place of their hearts well closed, they mounted their horse, went to beat the road again, and to attack the caravans they might meet. In the meantime, Casim's wife was very uneasy when night came, and her husband was not returned. She ran to Ali Baba in great alarm and said, "I believe, brother-in-law, that you know Casim is gone to the forest and upon what account? It is now night, and he has not returned. I am afraid some misfortune has happened to him." Ali Baba told her that she need not frighten herself, for that certainly Casim would not think it proper to come into the town till the night should be pretty far advanced. Ali Baba knocked at the door, which was opened by Morgiana, a clever, intelligent slave who was fruitful in inventions to meet the most difficult circumstance. When he came into the court, he unloaded the ass, and taking Morgiana aside, said to her, "You must observe an infallible secrecy. Your master's body is contained in these two penners. We must bury him as if he had died a natural death. Go now and tell your mistress I leave the matter to your wit and skillful device." Ali Baba helped to place the body in Casim's house, again recommended to Morgiana to act her part well, and then return with his ass. Morgiana went out early the next morning to a druggist and asked for a sort of lozenge which was considered efficacious in the most dangerous disorders. The apothecary inquired who was ill. She replied with a sigh, her good master Casim himself, and that Morgiana on her return warmed some water to wash the body, and at the same time Ali Baba perfumed it with incense and rubbed it in the burying cloth with the accustomed ceremonies. Not long after, the proper officer brought the bier, and when the attendant of the mosque, whose business it was to wash the dead over to perform their duty, she told them it was done already. 4 neighbors carried the corpse to the burying ground, following the imam, who recited some prayers. Ali Baba came after with some neighbors, who often relieved the other in carrying the bier to the burying ground. Morgiana, a slave to the case, followed in the procession, weeping, beating her breast, and tearing her hair. Casim's wife stayed at home mourning, uttering lamentable cries with the women of the neighborhood, who came, according to custom, during the funeral, and joining their lamentation with her, filled the quarter far and near with sounds of sorrow. After the robber had received great recommendation from the captain and his comrades, He disguising himself so that nobody would take him for what he was. And taking his leave of the troop that night, he went into the town just at daybreak. He walked up and down till accidentally he came to Baba Mustafa's stall, which was always open before any of the shops. Baba Mustafa was seated with an owl in his hand, just going to work. The robbers saluted him, bidding him good morrow and perceiving that he was all said, honest man, you begin to work very early. Is it possible that one of your age can see so well? I question, even if it were somewhat lighter. Whether you could see the stitch? You do not know me, replied Baba Mustafa. For old as I have extraordinary good eyes, and you will not doubt it when I tell you that I saw the body of a dead man together in a place where I had not so much light as I have now. A dead body, exclaimed the robber, with a fake amazement. Yes, answered Baba Mustafa. I see you want me to speak out, but you shall know no more. The robber felt sure that he had discovered what he sought. He pulled out a piece of gold and putting it into Baba Mustafa's hand said to him, I do not want to learn your secret. Tuck, I can assure you, you might safely trust me with it. The only thing I desire of you is to show me the house where you stitch up the dead body. If I were disposed to do you that favor, replied Baba Mustafa, I assure you I cannot. I was taken to a certain place whence I was it blindfold to the house and afterwards brought back in the same manner. You see, therefore, the impossibility of my doing what you desire. Well, replied the robber, you may, however, remember a little of the way that you were eyed. Well, replied the robber. You may, however, remember a little of the way that you were led blindfold. Come, let me blind your eyes at the same place. We will work together. Perhaps you may recognize some part, and as everyone should be paid for his trouble, here is another piece of gold for you. Gratify me in what I ask. So saying, he put another piece of gold into his hand. The two pieces of gold were great temptation to Baba Mustafa. He looked at them a long time in his hand, without saying a word, but at least he pulled out his purse and put them in. I cannot promise, said he to the robber, that I can remember the way exactly, but since you desire it, I will try what I can do. At these words, Baba Mustafa rose up, to the great joy of the robber, and led him to the place where Morgiana and bound his eyes. It was here, said Baba Mustafa. I was blindfolded, and I turned this way. The robber tied his handkerchief over his eyes and walked by him till he stopped directly at Qasim house, where Ali Baba then lived. The thief, before he pulled off the band, marked the door with a piece of chalk which he had ready in his hand, and then asked him if he knew whose house that was, to which Baba Mustafa replied that as he did not live in the neighborhood, he could not tell. In the meantime, the robber rejoined his troop in the forest and recounted to them his success, expectation upon his good fortune in meeting so soon with the only person who could inform him of what he wanted to know. All the robbers listened to him with the utmost satisfaction. Then the captain, after commending his diligence, addressing himself to them all. Then the captain, after commending his diligence, addressing himself to them all, said, "Comrades, we have no time to lose. Let us set off well armed, without its appearing who we are, but that we may not excite any suspicion. Let only one or two go into the town together, and join at our rendezvous, which shall be the great square. In the meantime, our comrade who brought us the good news and I will go and find out the house, that we may consult what had best be done." This speech and plan was approved of by all, and they were soon ready. They filed off in parties of two each after some interval of time, and got into the town without being in the least suspect. The captain, finding that their design had proved abortive, went directly to their place of rendezvous, and told his troop that they had lost their labor and must return to their cave. He himself set them the example, and they all returned as they had come. When the troop was all got together, the captain told them the reason of their returning, and presently the conductor was declared by all worthy of death. He condemned himself, acknowledging that he ought to have taken better precaution, and prepared to receive the stroke from him who was appointed to cut off his head. But as the safety of the troop required the discovery of the second intruder into the cave, another of the gang, who promised himself that he should succeed better, presented himself, and his offer being accepted, he went and corrupted Baba Mustafa as the other had done, and being shown the house, marked it in a place more remote from sight with red chalk. Not long after, Morgiana, whose eyes nothing could escape, went out, and seeing the red chalk, and arguing with herself as she had done before, marked the other neighbors' houses in the same place and manner. In 2 or 3 days' time the robber had purchased the molds and jars, and as the mouths of the jar were rather too narrow for his purpose, the captain caused them to be widened, and after having put one of his men into each, with the weapons which he took fit, leaving open the seam which had been undone to leave them room to breathe. He rubbed the jars on the outside with oil from the full vessel, being thus prepared. When the 19 mules were loaded with 37 rubbers in jar, and the jar of oil, the captain, as their driver, set out with them and reached the town by the dusk of the evening, as he had intended. He led them through the streets till he came to Ali Baba, at whose door he designed to have knocked, but was prevented by his sitting there after supper to take a little fresh air. He stopped his mules, addressed himself to him, and said, "I have brought some oil a great way to sell at tomorrow market, and it is now so late that I don't know where to lodge. If I should not be troublesome to you, do me the favor to let me pass the night with you, and I shall be very much obliged by your hospitality." When Morgiana saw him depart, she went to bed, satisfied and pleased to have succeeded so well in saving her master and family. Ali Baba rose before day and, followed by his slave, went to the bed, entirely ignorant of the important event which had happened at home. When he returned from the bed, he was very much surprised to see the oil jars, and to learn that the merchant was not gone with the mules. He asked Morgiana, who opened the door, the reason of it. "My good master," answered she, "God preserve you and all your family. You will be better informed of what you wish to know when you have seen what I have to show you, if you will follow me." As soon as Morgiana had shut the door, Ali Baba followed her. When she requested him to look into the first jar and see if there was any only, Ali Baba did so, and seeing a man, started back in alarm and cried out. "Don't be afraid," said Morgiana. "The man you see there can neither do you nor anybody else any harm. He is dead." "Ah, Morgiana," said Ali Baba, "what is it you show me? Explain yourself." "I will," replied Morgiana. "Moderate your astonishment, and don't excite the curiosity of your neighbor, for it is of great importance to keep this affair secret. Look into all the other jars." Ali Baba examined all the other jars, one after another, and when he came to that which had the oil in it, found it prodigiously sunk, and stood for some time motionless, sometime looking at the jars, and sometime at Morgiana, without saying a word, so great was his surprise. At least, when he had recovered himself, he said, "And what is become of the merchant?" "Merchant," answered she, "he is as much one as I am. I will tell you who he is and what is become of him. But you had better hear the story in your own chamber, for it is time for you hold that you had your brood after your bathing." Morgiana then told him all she had done from the first observing the mark upon the house to the discretion of the robbers, and the flight of their captain. On hearing on this brief deed from the lips of Morgiana, Ali Baba said to her, "Good God, by your means, has delivered me from the snares of these robbers laid for my destruction. I owe therefore my life to you, and for the first token of my acknowledgment, I give you your liberty from this moment till I can complete your recompense as I live." Ali Baba garden was very long, and shed at the farther and by a great number of large trees. Near this, he and the slave Abdallah dug a trench, long and wide enough to hold the bodies of the robbers. And as the earth was light, they were not long in doing it. When this was done, Ali Baba hid the jars and weapons, and as he had no occasion for the mules, he sent them at different times to be sold in the market by his slave. The next day, Ali Baba's son and Khwaja Hussain met by appointment, took their walk, and as they returned, Ali Baba's son led Khwaja Hussain through the street where his father lived, and when they came to the house, stopped and knocked at the door. "This, sir," said he, "is my father's house, who from the account I have given him of your friendship, charged me to procure him the honor of your acquaintance, and I desire you to add this pleasure to those for which I am already in the bed to you." How it was the sole aim of Khwaja Hussain to introduce himself into Ali Baba's house, that he might kill him without hazarding his own life or making any noise. Yet he excused himself and offered to take his leave, but a slave having opened the door, Ali Baba soon took him obligingly by the hand and in a manner forced him in. Ali Baba received Khwaja Hussain with a smiling countenance, and in the most obliging manner he could. He wished, we thanked him for all the favor he had done his son, adding with all, the obligation was the greater as he was a young man, not much acquainted with the world, and he might contribute to his information. As soon as Abdallah saw that Ali Baba and Khwaja Hussain had done taking, he began to playing on the tabor, and accompanied it with an air, to which Morgiana, who was an excellent performer, danced in such a manner as would have created admiration in any company. After she had danced several dances with much grace, she drew the pointer, and holding it in her hand, began a dance in which she outdid herself by the many different figures, like movement, and the surprising leaps and wonderful exertions with which they accompanied it. Sometimes she pretended the poniard to one breast, sometimes to another, and oftentimes seemed to strike her own. At least she snatched the tabor from Abdallah with her left hand, and holding the dagger in her right prison the other side of the table, after the manner of those who get a livelihood by dancing, and solicit the liberty of the spectator. Ali Baba put a piece of gold into the table, as did also his son, and Khadija Hussein, seeing that she was coming to him, had pulled his purse out of his bosom to make her a present. But while he was putting his hand into it, Morgiana, with a courage and resolution worthy of herself, plunged the poniard into his heart. "Unhappy woman," exclaimed Ali Baba, "what have you done to ruin me and my family?" "It was to preserve, not to ruin you," answered Morgiana, "for see here," continued she, opened the pretend Khadija Hussein garb and showing the dagger. "What an enemy you had entrained! Look well at him, and you will find him to be both the Fidelity oil merchant and the captain of the gang of 40 robbers. Remember too, that he would eat no salt with you. And what would you have more to persuade you of his weak design? Before I saw him, I suspect him. As soon as you told me you had such a ghost, I knew him, and you now find that my suspicion was not groundless." Ali Baba, who immediately felt the new obligation he had to Morgiana for saving his life a second time, embraced her. "Morgiana," said he, "I gave you your liberty, and then promised you that my gratitude should not stop there, but that I would soon give you higher proof of its sincerity, which I now do by making you my daughter-in-law." Then, addressing himself to his son, he said, I believe you, son, to be so dutiful a child, that you will not refuse Morgiana for your wife. You see that Khadija Hussein shook your friendship with a teacher's curse designed to take away my life, and if he had succeeded, there is no doubt but he would have sacrificed you also to his revenge. Consider that by marrying Morgiana, you marry the preserver of my family and your own. At the year's end, when he found they had not made any attempt to disturb him, he had the courage to make another journey. He mounted his horse, and when he came to the cave, he tied his horse to a tree, and approaching the entrance, pronounced the words, "Open sesame," and the door opened. He entered the cavern, and by the condition he found things in, judged that nobody had been there since the captain had fetched the goods for his shop. From this time he believed he was the only person in the world who had the secret of opening the cave, and that all the treasure was at his sole disposal. He put as much gold into his saddlebag as his horse would carry, and returned to town. Some years later, he carried his son to the cave, and took him the secret, which he handed down to his posterity, who, using their good fortune with moderation, live in great honor, splendor. That's all from me. Thanks for your participation and see you.